Thank you, Dr. Tim.
You're welcome. And the chat room is just the spinning wheel of confusion today.
I see that. Yeah, it's like so kicking me in and out.
Yeah. So have a wonderful show.
Thanks. So welcome, everybody, to the second hour of Mindshifters Radio. Today is Monday, February the 13th, 2023. And our call-in number is 563-999-3581. And press 1. And that puts you in queue to talk to us. And we'd love to hear your comments and questions because that makes this your show. Welcome, Michael. I was just getting ready to say we had an awesome weekend with breathing on Saturday and the meeting on Sunday, and we missed a few people that weren't there, so we hope that they're doing okay. And happy Eternal Day to my sweetie, Michael.
Dear heart, it is turning out to be a happy Eternal Day. We got beautiful sunshine today after a full rainy day yesterday. And new garden is rocking. We've got almost about 90% covered with leaf mulch now. So the soil's down and the base is down and the cardboard's down and the lawn underneath it's composting. So we're going to be ready to plant those seeds when they arrive. We did finally find a source, Jeanie did, for some native seeds. What were they, $100 or so a pound? So somebody's doing all right with that deal, but it's good to be able to get a hold of them. We've had trouble finding them, and so
yeah, it was $104 for a pound, and that'll cover about half of our garden. We have 2,500 square feet, and a pound will cover about 1,200 square feet. Of course, we're going to have a pathway in there too, but it was a minimum of 12 native seeds, wildflower seeds that are native to this area. So
cool. All pollinator seeds, right?
Yes.
Cool. Yes. So the beginning of a new year, a new spin around the sun for me. And looking forward to it. I look forward to every year that moves. I'm really excited watching how life unfolds. I'm excited about 20 years from now, 30, 40, 50, 60, 100 years from now. So looking forward to just how it all unfolds. Pretty amazing to have a human life. And if you're out there in listener land, if you're on one of those stations where we can't see you in our control panel, then we can't talk to you. So if you call the show directly, the number is 563-999-3581. You'll be listening to the show. And then if you push 1, that'll raise a hand in the control panel, and through the magic of technology, we'll be able to have a conversation. And then when the show is complete, if you'd like to that conversation, you feel like you need to listen to it again, you can go to our website, whyagain.org. You'll see a microphone in the middle of the page. If you click that microphone and drill down, you'll be able to download the show. So create a link to it. You can listen to it on your phone or your computer, or copy it too, share it, pass the link on to someone else. And well, then let's say hello.
It is 610. I believe it's Miss Susan. Welcome.
Hey, hi. I was on with Dr. Tim, and when you press 1 and then you get off and you get on, sometimes you don't see it, or I don't know how that works.
Well, it's good to hear your voice anyway. It's been a while.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. Yeah. I have I hope it's a great day for you. I really admire you for doing all this gardening stuff, and all the mulch you've gotten and the shoveling you're doing, and you seem to love the gardening.
We are. I've never done it before, and the last 4 years since we've been settled here, it's been really quite awesome to participate. I mean, literally every morning we've got a window that looks out over the garden, and I open the window, and that's the first thing I do. Or actually, sometimes in the middle of the night when I get up, the toilet happens to be right beside a window, so I'll even at night open the window just to gaze on it. It's miraculous to me. You know, you put a little hole in the ground, you put this little thing called a seed in it, and it gives you wealth. I mean, how does life get better than that?
Well, that's the question. You know, your business of the little park, I did some research on the little park, and I found a neighbor who's doing something similar and has little signs in his yard that this is a grow zone.
Cool.
Jeanie just asked me if your phone is popping. No, it's not. Anyway, and my son is texting me too, but I really do have something I wanted to ask you.
Okay. Well.
There's a lot going on at once. My son is home from work today. Various things converged, and so he's texting me. I've got to tell him I'm on the radio, so shut up for a little while, and I'll call you later.
He's taking a well day. Good. Good for him.
Is. Yeah. Well, the first question isn't about gardening, but if we get past that one, I would like to talk to you about gardening too.
Okay.
Post-COVID, it's been diagnosed, this itch is a post-COVID phenomenon that has turned up with a lot of people, and the dermatologist says it may be as much as 6 months before it goes away. Okay, So I've got the situation. And it's very surprising. It's a little like shingles, but not nearly as painful, but I'll suddenly have this burning, like nerve itch in my shoulder, or, you know, in embarrassing places. I never know when it's going to show up, you know, and here I am in the public place, and you just can't take care of that sort of thing. But I'm thinking, Where is it? Where is it in my psyche? What do you do with the fact that supposedly it's an external thing that happened? And of course I could do wake-up sheets on what itching means and how do I itch in my life, and I've done some.
Yeah.
But
what am I irritated about?
Okay.
What is my mind telling me is irritating me? Like those people who throw away plastic and things like that. You know those people.
Well, yep, those people. Okay, I'm writing this down. But but those things irritate me without the itch. And the itch, I could say to my itch, all right, itch, I get it. I am irritated about people who buy single-use plastic and toss it on the lawn of the park. Or, you know, or I go to Costco and I see just banks and banks and banks of single-use water bottles and people buying them stacked high on these trolleys. And I'm thinking, wake up! So yes, there's a lot of work to do there in that. But why do I need this itch? I know I'm itchy. What's the deal?
Well, remember the analogy we've used before, that the universe comes along when we've got a piece of work to do, and it taps us on the shoulder, and if we don't listen to the tap, then it gives us a little kick in the butt, and you know, before long it's hitting us with a 2x4. And so maybe there's something that you've not been willing to listen to, that, you know, the energy is accumulated enough that now it's going to turn into a physiological phenomenon that is trying to get your attention. So I guess I'd just be paying more attention. I'd ask Ruka. Remember, half of the definition of Ruka is she who teaches us the truth. I'd be asking Ruka to show me, what specifically is this about? What can I do aside from just endure this for 6 months? And then be in listening mode. You know, get the mind, the perceptual constructs of the mind quiet enough to listen to that answer. And, you know, it might come in the very oddest moment. You know, you're sitting eating a piece of toast, and all of a sudden your mind just kind of wanders into this place. When I first started teaching and understanding intuitive development, I can remember the first time that I really asked for information about something, and all of a sudden I noticed my mind was in a different place, or my awareness was in a different place, and it was a subtle energy I was aware of. And all I had to do to let myself be aware of what, in that moment, I became aware had always been there, was I just needed to turn my head a little bit to the left and look. And it was like something that, somewhere in my psyche I knew was always there, all of a sudden came to awareness, and I became aware of how to access it. And a big part of it is quieting the noisemaker, the mind. So you might just try asking and see what it gives you. And being willing, one of the exercises we do in intuitive development is we'll have you partnered with a person, and we'll go through a number of exercises where you're getting feedback on what your intuitions are. And then we'll invite you to broaden your spectrum of how you receive information by asking yourself the question. So if I were looking at this person and they were symbolized in my mind as a plant, what would the plant be? If they were a body of water, what would the body of water be? How deep would it be? How cold? How warm would it be? If they were a sky, what would that sky? And so just using that as a mechanism to let information in ways that we don't normally let information in. So you may just, allow yourself to flow with that a little bit and see what comes.
You asked those questions, and I could answer those questions for every question you said. That kind of information seems very readily available. If a person were a plant, what kind of a plant? Animal, what color is that person's spirit? Those are things that, why isn't this other thing accessible?
So if this irritation were to come to your full awareness, what would it come to your awareness as?
Oh, brother. You would ask
your brother?
Oh, brother. No, not my brother. My brother is a good fellow. No.
Well, that doesn't mean, that doesn't mean that your itch isn't a good fellow either. You
Michael,
may be categorizing it. That might be something to do with let go of categorizing to something, quote unquote, other than a good fellow.
You there. My brain went with the first question, so I lost you. Do you want to explain that, or should we keep going? Because I got my answer. Oh, gosh, it's awful. I'm phenylon. I am being phenylon. I am just the most irritated after all this time. I'm doing worksheets on irritation of various situations and people rather constantly. It's not many people, but it's a couple of people I'm working with. I make all these decisions that I'm going to, and I do the worksheets, but it's still there. It's like I can't get under it. I can't dig deep enough. I can't scratch hard enough to find where this is. Why? Why care? Who cares? Oh, gosh, Michael. Anyway, yeah, okay. We don't even need to talk anymore. I think I got my work cut out.
Okay. Nice. And the other question that you had about what I was saying is when I heard you say, oh, brother, and I turned it into your brother, and you went into, no, he's a nice guy, then that would imply that you're characterizing this feedback that you're getting as, or the word was good, that you're perhaps categorizing this feedback as bad. And of course, it's not going to talk to you a whole lot if you're telling it it's bad. You're going to reject it anyway. So that was the other part of the conversation I was suggesting.
Okay.
Maybe you put this in the category of, thank you, God, for this irritation that I'm experiencing physically, that's getting my attention, because now I get to go into tissue and deal with what's there. And gee, maybe as a result of this beautiful gift of irritation, I'll get to heal my whole tissue structure on a whole other level and step into a more earnest, a more peaceful, a more rewarding, a sweeter life. So thank you, irritation. Maybe, or not.
Yeah.
And another thought that keeps coming is that you might do some asking of your generations about their status with irritation. The thought comes for me, intuitively, the thought comes that maybe there's a genetic component to this that might be someone in your ancestry knocking on your door.
I'll have to think about that, but what comes to mind is when I was quite small, I was evidently complaining bitterly to my mother about some person who was irritating to me, and she said, "You are a very critical little girl, aren't you?" And I thought, yep. And then later on, one of my mentors, I was a teenager counselor at a camp, and it's a long story, but I went to her. She was an older woman, like a crone, a wise old woman. We called her Doc Ann. And I went to her in a terrible state because a boyfriend had just broken up with me. And I was a wreck. And I went to her and I couldn't even talk. I just sat there and cried. And finally she said to me something I never understood how she thought to say that. But she said to me, "You are going to find people very lacking in your life." I never understood quite what she meant. I interpreted it to say that she thought I was super something or other, and that most people were kind of dull in comparison. And I thought about that. What did she mean? Why am I remembering those two things right now, but they got to be relevant?
Because they're probably right on track. And my thought would be that they're both the same comment, the comment that came from your mother and the comment that came from Doc Ann.
Yeah.
Is that there's and criticism comes from fear. So what that would imply is that the fear filter is active often for you.
That is very true.
Or the hostility filter, which means that your mind produces threat very easily. Reality is based in threat. And so the work would be to really befriending and connecting to Rachma, so that whatever comes in, even if it is, let's say it is some kind of a real threat, it comes in through Rachma, it comes in through love. And therefore you don't have to be in some sort of irritation or threat. You can just be in intelligence and notice, I need to pay attention to this. This is something that could be a threat to me. I don't have to go into an alarm state or startle. If I see it through Rachma, I can just understand that this is something I need to pay attention to and do something about. So the invitation there, from, when Yeshua, when they ask him what's the most important thing, in essence they're saying in being a human being, he says you must have Rachma. Got to have this filter in the frontal lobe of your brain active so that you, love, are present in your physiology, and your mind doesn't have to produce threat or irritation to handle something that is perhaps threatening or irritating, as the world would call it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it sounds like another level of invitation, and they were both informing you. They were kind of like a personal code evaluation, informing you what your work was.
Gosh, my brain's just, doing a hydra right now. I mean, there are so many little...
Keep notes.
Yeah. You
jot it down.
do a cleanse, and I did the whole thing 30 days. And the itch is still here.
Mm-hmm.
So the rash is gone, but the itch is still there. The rash totally went.
Well, that's a good start. So it sounds like you're well underway. And now you've been given, through your intuition, the pathway to the next level. Thank you, Mom, and thank you, Doc Ann.
Yeah. My daughter-in-law is a pediatric rheumatologist, and when I told her about this itch with no symptoms, just the itch, she said, have you gotten into a state of sort of neurotic scratching? I have to ask her what she meant, but I think I intuitively have a feeling of what she meant is something else that isn't biological is now continuing with this itchy business. So,
Right.
you know, you call it neurotic. Anyway, thank you for that. I've been using the gentle art of blessing, but you know what? It is like, I feel like Sisyphus pushing the rock up the hill. When I feel it,
it's endless, eh?
It is. I put my hand on my heart and I look at the person that I want to clobber and I say, I love you and I bless you. And I can feel a little shift and release, but it isn't as joyful and pleasant as it was, you know, like a honeymoon period. The honeymoon period is over. This is work. And it doesn't have to be work, but this is just what's, so even the Gentle Art of Blessing book is a way of, I think it allowed that whole avenue of inquiry to open up.
Powerful. And each of those, when you find yourself having to put your hand on your heart in order to deal with something, would be a place to initiate a worksheet.
Sure. I mean, yeah, right.
When you're doing, you know, you've got the new worksheet that we put out, right? Have you been using that one?
I have, and you know, I have one complaint about it. I shouldn't call it a complaint. It's a question, but I've run into
An irritation, you mean?
With my, it's also run into it with my, you're a good sport, Michael, but when I've worked with my Zoom people, I get to 6A, and canceling that goal, the driver that selects the data that produces my reality, my errant perception collapses, and I get to drop into the parts of my mind, etc. I have had people already accessing some really deep primal thing, and I get to that and I read it, and like they look like a deer in the headlights, and they say, "Come again," and suddenly they're back in their head. So what I've been doing, because this has happened several times, I say, just forget that. Drop down to action step while holding love conscious, active and present. I go to that and they re-engage and they're off and running and they can finish the worksheet. My question for you is, do we have to have that right there, right then?
Well, here's the thing. We could actually just have a one-step worksheet. I cancel my goal.
Mm-hmm.
That could be all there is to the worksheet.
Mm-hmm.
But we add the part in about what's the situation so that I can be really specific about the goal. We add in the part about bringing love present. We do. Each step is a process of building brain cells. And so the person who doesn't have the brain cells is not going to, they're going to be like the deer in the headlights, but it's an invitation to build awareness on another level of what's really going on.
Okay, that makes sense. In the case of the people I'm working with, we've done worksheets together, and they don't want to do that right then. They've already sort of done it. But maybe that's just for people who aren't new at it. Or maybe I'm not.
Well, as I say, it takes building the brain cells.
Well, they have them. I think they have them by then. My thought was, this probably belongs here, but maybe not right here. Maybe it belongs in the pile of small print at the bottom or something. And I may be wrong, but this is what I've done. I've done it twice with clients in the Zoom group. We've used the worksheet, but they get there and they say, and then we go to the action step and they're back engaged where they were. But maybe I'm missing something. I mean, I could stand correcting. Maybe we should stop, take a breath, re-engage the noodle again, do some more brain work, and then get back into the feelings where they had arrived before.
Well, you'll notice whenever I teach the worksheet, if you watch the Why Is This Happening to You Again workshop, when I get to that step, I inform people, so here we are. Before we do the action step, we're going to review the whole first half of the workshop.
Okay.
We're going to look at the basic principles that are involved here, and that when you've got those brain cells, become a platform you can step up on to go to the next level.
Okay.
And that maybe is going to have to be reinforced. I mean, that's a complex statement.
Yeah.
That's placed there.
I can do that.
And purposely so.
Right. Well, okay. I honor your idea, and I like how you introduce it, like saying, okay, let's reorient, let's take a breath, step back, let's take a look at these things, stop for a moment, let's read this, review these, and then we can go on. I think they just feel as if they're sort of rolling along and suddenly the wheels hit a rock and they just stop dead and they get all confused. So anyway.
And remember that confusion is a really positive place to be. You know, it's a whole lot better place to be than thinking you know something when you really don't have a clue. And as you're bringing new constructive information into the mind, and the mind has different information, those two are going to clash, and that's going to create the confusion, and it's like cleaning out the confusion. I don't know if you had the experience when you started working with A Course in Miracles, but I certainly remember it, and I've worked with hundreds of people who've had that experience where they're reading just what appears to be a simple sentence in the Course, and they read it, and they're like, wait a minute, let me go back and read that again. I know I just read something, but I don't know what it was.
Yeah, I know. I have that a lot. Yeah.
And then, 6 months down the road, you read that paragraph, and it's just, they're just words on the page. It's just, that makes perfect sense. But the mind can make perfect sense of it because it has the brain cells. If the mind isn't making perfect sense of it, it's because it does not have yet the eyes to see and the ears to hear.
Yeah.
And to revisit it opens the space for building those eyes and ears. And in order for that to happen, what's not true has to be processed out. And that's what people are confronting at that stage, is what's not true in the mind. Well, wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense. What do you mean I'm going to come into a direct conscious relationship with and remove the denied, dissociated, projected parts of my carbon-based memory? Well, what are you talking about? What does that mean? Oh, well, what it means is you've hidden things from yourself, and now you're asking to be shown how to come into conscious relationship with it so that you can throw it out, so you can transmute it. Make sense? Yeah, that makes sense. But until those brain cells are built, and that's why I always introduce it with, and here's the whole first half of the workshop in a nutshell. Here's what's going to happen. The other question I have, so you're starting to use that one, how is 3B fitting for you, and then 6B when you cancel the goal for the
3B,
the reason
so
I want this. So I can, yes.
Yeah. Sometimes we don't use that. If a person knows the answer right away, they'll just say, so that I can do this. But very often, we just go on from that. They don't resonate with that. I haven't forced them to stay there. Would you recommend that I do?
Well, if you're looking at, there's the goal that I hold for someone else. And this was, I think, a really great insight. And, Magda brought it to us several years ago, and it was David Hayes, who used to be at Heartland. You know, before you guys got to Heartland, he had left, but you know, it was David Hayes that came up with that one, and it really fits that when I want something from you, it's so that I think I'm depending on you in order for me to accomplish something. And when I can look at both levels, there are really two goals involved. And so it's kind of like, you know, I just doubled the value of the worksheet from one. I get rid of not just one goal, but two, and a level that I often keep hidden from myself so that I can. And it also brings people back home to themselves instead of, oh, no, it's all about them. Yeah, I've got to go for them. Yeah, it's about them. It's no, well, but I'm making it about them so that I can. And when I let myself drop into that part of my mind, I'm gonna get a double whammy in canceling goals.
I totally get it, and I wish I hadn't taken that 3B as lightly as I have. I will not take it that way anymore. What you were telling me about, you know, hostility and irritation, what's all about fear, so that I can. That's the answer to the so that I can be safe, so that I can make sure I'm getting enough air, so that I'm not being starved to death, frozen out, abandoned, all this stuff. Exactly, that's where that would go.
Exactly. And if you would just do what I want you to do, then I could be at peace.
Yeah. God.
And the truth is, if I want to be at peace, nobody has to do anything but me. I have to get rid of the disturbed part of my mind that I don't want to look at and don't want to deal with.
Totally true. How frustrating. I was telling Dr. Kim.
Now, wait a minute. Let me see now. Something outside of you frustrates you, so it's frustrating. Okay. Oh, I didn't know that was possible. I'll have to look into that and see if that's even possible.
Quiet, Michael. I know that.
I'm just playing with you. You know I'm only serious.
I was telling Dr. Tim that it's like whack-a-mole. As soon as I get one taken care of, the other one pops up. And this is the 77 times 7 worksheet. It somehow all zeroes down into so that I can be safe. They all end up safe and not starved, or safe and not cold, or whatever it is. But it's anyway. You were going to ask me about another part of the worksheet.
Well, the other thought I hold is that, and you'll move through the whole process a whole lot faster if you can look at that underlying goal. That's been my experience in working with it, and that's why I put it in there. And Jeannie, she's been using it in her Women Healing Women intensive all along. She started on that one a long time ago.
Good. Okay.
Which is why that one's in the app as well.
Mm-hmm. So that app, yeah, that's a good app.
It is. It is.
And you said there was another place in the worksheet?
No, it was the 3B.
Okay.
It was the one I had thoughts about. So.
Okay. Well, I think I ran out of stuff. How about you?
I'm good. I'm rocking.
Good.
One other thought with the irritation, are you keeping your hand in the AVACEN? Get that physiological circulation? Good, awesome.
Yeah.
That will definitely support.
Okay. I've been looking at the box in which it arrived from your house and thinking it's time to send it back to you. Jeannie mentioned that there were a couple of other people that might like to use it, and I've certainly had it for a long time. So,
well, we'll look, and if there's someone ready for it, I'll let you know.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah, you've been generous about that. The other thing I wanted to mention is just that. Yeah. What, Jeannie?
Oh, I was just going to say, you were talking about plastic earlier, and what I thought of was Michael found a laundry detergent that comes, it's like little sheets, and they just dissolve, and they work great, and so you don't have the big plastic bottle with the laundry detergent in it. And I think even the package it comes in is biodegradable or whatever, so it's really pretty cool.
Yeah, I have dishwasher soap and laundry soap, and come in little pillows of biodegradable stuff, and it's safe. You can find stuff like that on the internet. I'm doing my part, but I'm irritated because other people aren't doing their parts. And then I add,
Really?
I'm doing my part to an extent. Yeah.
Really? You're irritated about what somebody else is doing? Really? Now, there's another one of those things. I'll have to check into that. I didn't think that was possible, but I'll check it out and see.
All right, touche.
All right.
I was just about to make a confession that I buy almond butter, and it only comes in plastic tubs. So, see, I'm singing one song, but I'm still doing something else too. So that's a confession.
Nobody's perfect. You're absolved.
Okay.
Well,
the
prayer of absolution. My father plays dominoes better than your father.
I bought a lot of seeds to start a garden, and I don't want to do a garden.
Well, then I'd pass the seeds on to somebody else.
Okay. This is another thing I could do a worksheet on. I want your permission. Is it okay if I don't do a garden?
Hey, pass the seeds on to somebody else. Sounds good to me, but not up to me whether you do a garden or not.
No. Okay. I won't take your time with that silly thing.
I'm certain that the local organic farmers would love it if you don't do a garden and support them. That's that's the next best thing, I think.
Yeah, we do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks,
cool.
Michael.
Sweet. All right, we appreciate you, dear heart. Lots of love.
Thank you. You too. Happy birthday again.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Awesome. And actually, we have now got 5 hands up.
Well, let's go for it. Who's next? Let's go.
All right. The first one, I believe, is Mr. Terry Bowling, 336. You're on the air.
Hey, guys. How you folks doing?
Hey, good.
Hey, we're rocking. How about you, Terry?
Super. I just wanted to comment on the confusion. Now, 13 years ago, out in Heartland, I was experiencing a lot of confusion, which also triggered a lot of irritation. And then when you explained the concept that new information was trying to enter my brain, it was conflicting with things that I already had and maybe even held dearly. And there was a little battle going on. The light went off, and oh my gosh, I get it. So now I tell all the people I work with, all the guys, confusion, that means you're learning something, potentially. It's awesome. And so I've enjoyed that and shared it. And it was a direct experience from your comment on what was going on. It just set me.
Well, it's absolutely a necessary step in the healing process. If I think I know something and I'm in error, when the truth comes in, those two energies mix, they're going to look like confusion. You've probably heard me before use the example of, okay, so I've got a whiteboard up here, and I shine a red light on it and a green light and a blue light, and we know that there's actually no such thing, from a scientific point of view of red, blue, and green. They're just interpretations the brain gives to different frequencies. But I have clarity when I shine the blue light here, and I have clarity in the red light there and the green light there. But if I put them all on one spot, I'm going to get a mix of those frequencies. Literally, it's going to be some sort of a mishmash of red, blue, and green. Those energetic patterns mixing, well, it's exactly the same in the brain. When my error mind energy, it's a frequency just like light, comes up and it confronts truth, the two try to mix and the result is confusion. And so if I just keep, pouring in truth and breathing, the confusion is going to be diluted and it's going to dissolve and disappear as I forgive.
Beautiful.
So it's a necessary step in the healing process.
I want to add another key piece for me.
Uh-huh.
And so I kind of kept track of all the worksheets and somewhere around number 5,000 or so, literally.
Right.
Then the importance of checking that little box, I let go of the need to be right. It hit home and tied right confusion and all. And I love checking that little box. And I told you with that new sheet, you had moved it down the line, and my mind obliterated 3 sheets. I was like, wait a minute, Michael took this off here. I was getting ready to call you, and then did another word.
Where'd it go?
There it is. That was great. That's what I wanted to add to the mix today. Love you, buddy. I appreciate you guys.
It, my friend.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Get those other callers out there.
All right, blessings. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. All right, the next one is area code 512. You're on the air. Who do we have?
Oh, sorry.
512.
I didn't have my hands up.
Oh,
Hey,
you didn't mean to put your hand up? Okay.
How'd I do that?
Well, you did, so
that's
you
okay.
must,
Can we
must
help
have a
you while
thought
we
for
got
us.
you?
Oh, maybe when I push 1. Okay.
That'll do
All
it.
right.
That's how it's done. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I was just talking to you earlier, and you said to call in, so I called in. Just listening.
Great. Well, any questions? From that interaction earlier?
Oh, I have a million questions, but I'd just like to.
I'll just pick one.
I like to talk.
Anyone.
What's that?
Just pick one. Anyone. What's the first one that comes to mind?
Mine, the unanswerable one.
Yeah, that's
you
the
couldn't
one.
answer it. What makes you think? What makes me think? What makes Source thinks we're nothing more than a simulation and an intelligence far greater than what we know as Source? Yeah, I told you.
I have an answer for that. We actually have an app for that. If you go to your app store on your phone, you type in Heartland Aramaic Forgiveness. We've got a whole app designed just to answer that question. And for me, the answer to the question is when I'm able to collapse what I think I know, I go into the equivalent of what people refer to as a near-death experience, where clinical death occurs, the mind of the past shuts up, and I get to touch what's unspeakable. And one of the ways to do that, and I don't suggest people go out and do that, is to literally experience clinical death. Have people call it a near-death experience. It's really a near-life experience. Most are dead to the truth of who they are. Their mind is just playing with its, all of its past and all the stuff that it does. But when people clinically die, that whole thing shuts down, and we get to taste what's possible for us as human beings. That it's not necessarily a safe route to take that, try to use that solution, but what forgiveness does when we use it as it was originally designed to be used, what forgiveness does is it gives you, sometimes it's just for an instant, but it collapses what that carbon-based memory system's doing. It collapses the story based in the lie, and we get to taste what we could never put into words.
Simulation, even if I get to experience that, it's just a simulation in the intelligence. We could just be a simulation within a simulation. It's just like very frustrating. I don't even think Source can answer that.
Okay, so here's my next thought. So our definition, you were asking me this morning about my definition of denial. In this work, our definition of denial is when I think or speak as though something outside of me is the cause of what's going on inside of me, then I'm in denial. And by doing that, I hide something from myself. And then I project it into my brain's image of the world, whatever I've hidden, and then I can pretend it's outside of me. So notice the denial in your statement. It's frustrating. My offering would be, there's no frustration in you because of whatever it is you're confronting. That's just the mind playing tricks on you. There's just frustration in you. And the frustration is there to be hidden, and it's the frustration that covers up the truth that you're seeking. And so you want to apply forgiveness in regard to the frustration that you're experiencing. How do you forgive? I haven't found too many people working with the Course or anything else that have a clue how to forgive. I had worked with the Course for years before I saw it right there in black and white, as clear and crisp as the light of day, and it's exactly what Yeshua taught 2,000 years ago in the Aramaic language, and that is that whatever it is, I'm trying to figure this out. I've got a goal. You'll notice you're never frustrated, angry, upset, irritated, or anything else about anything. I mean, unless you're just a generally miserable person, which is not what I get. But you're never irritated, upset about anything unless you have a goal for it. And that's the key way into forgiveness, a la first century Aramaic Yeshua and the Course in Miracles. And so what you do is you identify specifically what the goal is that you have for the object of attention. Oh, what's my goal? Well, I want to know the truth about life, and is it a stimulation? Well, I could spend the next 10 centuries trying to figure that one out. And as you say, I'm not going to figure it out, but I can forgive it. And forgiving it would look like I can't, in Aramaic, the word forgive, the word that's been translated as forgive anyway, is shabag or shabak, and it means to cancel. So I can look at the fact that I have a goal to figure out life. And so forgiveness is going to look like I'm going to cancel my goal to figure out life. And what happens then, because our perceptual constructs are driven by our goals, when I remove that goal, that construct collapses. And when it collapses with all its blocks and all its, verbal diarrhea, when it collapses, I get a taste. And when I continue to do that process, and sometimes I might need to do it 10 times a minute, that taste will expand and expand and expand. And now the trickster, the mind that wants to figure it out, wants to know everything, and wants to make sure everybody knows it's right, will shut up. And then I get to just be life, rather than getting suckered into its need to know.
Yeah, and
so
all those are true. I mean, what you're saying is true, and that is the rules within the system. And if I will go with it, yes, you're right. I've experienced it. You don't really have any. But what if that is the simulation, just part of the simulation? When the simulation's over, it's over.
And once again, I'm leaving my goal. As I said, sometimes you'll have to do it 10 times in a minute. My goal comes up once again. Oh, well, what if it's just a simulation? So my goal is to have that question answered. So now what I want to do is, once again, and I might do this, when they said to Yeshua the first time around, how many times do I need to forgive? As to my brother, is 7 times enough? The Greeks translated as 7 times 70. In Aramaic, what he said was 77 times 70. I'm going to cancel that goal perhaps an infinite number of times until that block is totally, completely dissolved. And then I get to live as a human being. And then when I choose to live as a human being, so maybe it's a hologram, maybe it's a simulation, what does it matter? Am I connected to love and I'm functioning out of love? Do I need something more?
That's exactly what Esther Abraham said to me one time when I asked that question, what difference does it make? Well, the difference is, I couldn't think of the answer at the time, but I'm like, now I'm like, well, you, Abraham, teach that you create your own reality. Well, isn't your very existence a part of your reality? So it's like, I guess whoever's pulling the strings ultimately, if that was true, gets to determine the ultimate of who gets to create your reality.
I didn't catch a question that. Can you rephrase it so I get the question?
Yeah. No, it wasn't really a question. It was just like, that was the same thing that Abraham said, is what difference does it make? Well, the difference is if you're supposed to be a create your own reality kind of being, well, ultimately you're not really creating it. The ones that are running the game in the simulation when it's over. And all the tools you're talking about work. I've done it. It works. And I don't deny that. But when the stimulation's over, whoever's controlling it, if that's even true, it's over. You know, you don't really create your own reality except for what they do allow you to do within the simulation.
Of course, you know, that kind of leaves us then in the place. My offering would be that leaves us in the place of so my mind, my non-being mind, can figure out the unanswerable question, and as long as I stick with that question, I can keep short-circuiting myself.
Right. So I have no choice.
What does that do for me?
Yeah, I just ignore it. But ultimately, we may not be controlling this.
I wouldn't suggest for one instant we are controlling it. I don't think we've even scratched the surface of what the possibilities are, let alone are we in control of it.
Oh, yes. And I've heard beings from really higher dimensions talk about how they just, as much as advanced they are, they're just amazed at how much more there is to creation, how little they know.
I'll tell you that I've been doing this work now, developing this work, teaching it, doing it in my own personal process for a little better than 50 years now, and that's the thing that just keeps wowing me, is like, oh my God, it's like we're just scratching the very surface of it.
Yep.
And I'm going to frustrate myself over not figuring it out. No, I'm going to just live it and be in the process.
Well, to tell you the truth, I'm really not that frustrated. I just kind of use that word. I've accepted it long ago that it's really unanswerable, and go with the simulation if it is a simulation, because it really feels good to feel good.
Yeah, I think one of the important things to get there is that the simulations based in hostility or fear are the things that need to go to begin with.
Right, I would agree.
And when we do that, then that's when the vista opens. You know, we had an opportunity just a few weeks ago. They came out with these new pictures from this super magnificent telescope. And when I saw those pictures, you know, I don't have a clue how to even start to comprehend what they're even looking at with that telescope. But here's what I got when I was exposed to that is, if we could just give up the mental masturbation of hostility and fear, we're designed to comprehend that. Mm-hmm. And so giving up my past to open the space for what's possible, to me, becomes far more important, especially a past based in hostility and fear.
I would agree. That's my goal. That's my aim.
I'm with you. I'll join you in it. And in so doing, step into the next level of life, which to me is eternal life. I don't believe that we're designed to die. I think we made the process up, you know, as the Course talks about. And to really consciously step into the truth of who we are is such a major, major piece of the puzzle.
Right. I did have one more question. I don't know
Go
if it's
for
proper
it.
to ask it or not.
Hey, I'm here. If I don't have an answer, I'll say I don't know, but I'll check it out.
Well, it's just more of egotistic. I mean, it sounds like it. It really does. But the only reason I'm asking is because a guru who I really, really looked up to said that this might be of evil and not good. So I've seen, just in the last 7 years, I've seen over 5,000 UFOs. It's almost every night I just look up and they're there, and then I see rainbow spectrum in the sky at least every third day at the minimum. And I was seeing a phenomenon about 3 years ago. I don't think almost no one on the planet has seen it before. I know a couple of people might have, but and then I see synchronicity like no one else. Like I can almost command it. So my question is that of evil or of the light? Because one guy said it might have been of the dark. It distracts me.
Well, my take would be, does your sense of it take you in the direction of functioning as the truth of who you are? when you look at the worksheet that we do, there's a section in the course that says, you need to hear the truth about yourself as frequently as possible. And the opening line in our worksheet process of forgiveness is where I write my name and acknowledge myself as love. Does it support you in experiencing yourself as love? Then
it does. That's a lot.
Then go with it. If it doesn't, then forgive it. Let it go. And who knows? Maybe maybe you're the one who's ready to bring through the next level of something that humanity has never known. That you go back into the Aramaic language and that word that, we've seen people walking around with sandwich boards that say, repent, the end is near. The word repent doesn't have anything to do with, be sorry for all the terrible things you've done. It actually means to turn your attention in another direction other than this mind.
That's another thing, see,
go ahead.
No, I just, because I'm on that same trail I thought you were on. So yeah, that's what I've had. At least 50 gurus over the last 7 years said that my frequency is higher than most. And I don't know if that's sabotage from them or if it's actually true. I just don't know.
Does it support you experiencing yourself and those around you as love? Then I go for it.
It does. It does.
Then my take is you're right on track. And who knows, maybe you have turned your mind sufficiently away from the past, away from, as the Course talks about the world, the darkness rules, the world of words and concepts and such, to be able to become the receiver for what comes next. And if you go to the creation story in the Aramaic language, way back in the Old Testament, it says, go forth, multiply, and replenish the face of the earth. And, most everybody listened to that multiply command, but they didn't comprehend what that replenish meant, but it really meant become the finishing edge or the cutting edge of creation. So if you've turned sufficiently to be a receiver for that, the word prayer doesn't mean get down on your knees with your hands folded and tell the Creator what the Creator should be doing for you today. It means to set a trap for God, to become the energetic space, the antenna, quite literally, in terms of physics, that captures the essence of love in the world, the energy through which we live, move, and have our being, and literally expresses it or pours it out into the world. And so that's ultimately what we're designed to do, and one by one we're going to do that. When we hit critical mass, then it's going to open the space for the whole planet to be able to do that, and we'll really understand what that replenish meant and what we're designed for. So I'll hold space and join you in it.
Very well. Yeah.
Go ahead. What's that next thought?
No, I was just going to answer the question that you can't answer any more than anyone else. When would this critical mass begin? And nobody can really answer that. I know that.
I didn't quite catch the question. Say it again.
When will this critical mass start? I know it's.
It started. If I look back 50 years ago doing this work, the number of people that looked at me like I was some kind of wacko. And today, many people go, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Oh, sure, yeah. And we would travel. For 40 years, I traveled 30 to 40 weeks of the year, and town to town to town. And, in the last 15 years, even the little tiny towns, little tiny burgs have got their alternative healing center and their massage therapists and, alternate ways of looking at things. So to me, it's moving quickly. We're on track.
Oh, yeah. I was definitely.
I don't think we're too far away.
I was asking for organic food when stores would be like, what? What are you talking about?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You got it.
Yeah, it's changed.
Well, it's a delight to talk with you. The phone's going to cut us off. Our show's just about completed, just announced on my ear. So delight to talk with you. I look forward to talking again.